Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1000 Gurus with me, your host, J.R. Yona Cruz. Today's guest is Way Liu. Way is a creative born and raised in the Bay Area with experience in dance, DJing, and other music-related facets. So this was another catch-up with an old friend. Way and I go back to 2008 in high school, I believe when he was a freshman and I was a senior. He was once a hip-hop dance mentee of mine, and interestingly, he followed a similar dance journey as me, joining two dance teams I was on after I had left. He is also a freestyle dancer with a background in popping, and he also moved down to SoCal to pursue dance just like I did. We're both Fremont Bay Area natives, and I haven't actually caught up with him in maybe 8 or 9 years, but he's almost the exact same dude I remember from high school, just slightly older and wiser, of course. We talk about his dance journey, the struggles of being a director on Kaba Modern, his drug addiction and now sobriety for 4 years, struggles with his decades-long chronic back pain, and how he got into so many different creative pursuits. It was a very wide-ranging, vulnerable, and humbling conversation, and a great reminder that sometimes the kindest people you know are also the people who have gone through some of the hardest challenges. So I deeply appreciate him for sharing his story, and hopefully you guys do too. So without further ado, hope you enjoy this episode with Way Liu. Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome my guest, Way. Insert applause. Cool.
I'll applause for myself.
Yeah. I put it in post. So thank you, Way, for being here. I really appreciate it. How are you feeling?
Not bad today. How about you?
I am fantastic. It's been a long day. This is the thing I was looking forward to, just catching up with a friend and not being on the clock. So
I feel it, man. I was doing a bunch of wedding gig stuff before this, and it was just pretty stressful.
yeah, work has been busy, and also do you ever have those days where you just have a headache and you're not really sure why? And it's just, this sucks. And I don't really want to take medicine. I'm like, let me just see if I can get through the day. Especially working out with a headache sucks.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I think I usually just skip working out if I have a headache.
Yes. Yeah. I wish I could do that, but my habits won't allow me to skip a day at this point.
You
It's
have
a good and bad thing.
you have a very set plan, and you can't break it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good and a bad thing. It's like, I'm going to be here anyways, whatever, just suffer. But anyways, we'll go back to the intro. So thank you again for being here. I'll go into how I know you. So you and I go way back, high school. We're both from Fremont. You're in Fremont still, right?
Yep, I'm in Fremont right now.
Nice. Bay Area. Let's go. So yeah, then we started hanging out when you were a first year and I was a fourth year, if I'm not mistaken, in
Yes.
Irvington. So yeah, we're part of the small high school dance community back in the day. Later on, you moved to SoCal and we reconnected. You ended up joining Kaba Modern. You were also in AoV for a little bit. And then you eventually moved back to the Bay. And I've been following your social media, DJ journey. Sometimes you post cooking, food stuff, which I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Yeah, so I think that's it. Any clarifications? What else you up to?
I think most people know me for DJing, but I'm always kind of dipping my fingers into random stuff. I think DJing is just what people know me for because that's most of the content I post online. But usually it's whatever shiny object is drawing my attention at the moment.
I feel like you've always been that kind of guy. You're just like, oh, this seems interesting, and you go for it and try it out, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, any other clarifications? Otherwise, we'll go into the main 3 topics, which I'll outline right now. So as listeners of the show know, we always go through origin story and life aspirations just to humanize my guests. I would have already read your bio before this recording. Second topic, health. We have some topics there. And then third topic is all of your creative pursuits. And of course, this is always freestyle as well and organic. So we might do some side tangents and whatnot. But yeah, otherwise we can just jump into it. So Way, where did you grow up? What were some of your main influences that were pivotal in shaping who you are today? That might be a broad question, but however you want to tackle it.
Well, Fremont, California. I moved here when I was 4, I think. And my biggest influences, I guess there's a lot, but as it relates to my personality, probably SpongeBob the most, because I feel like I'm weird and crazy, just like the characters in that show. And then creatively, definitely you and Kenta in my early years when I was just getting into hip hop dance. I remember you guys were my early mentors. YouTube being the being a late millennial, I guess, I experienced like the birth of the internet, or not the birth of the internet, but like when the internet started becoming super popular, or Web 2 internet, when you could like subscribe to creators and kind of the social aspect of the internet became big. I think that really influenced me a lot because not just YouTube, but like AIM and early Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, same. It was like that kind of generation. I was gonna ask, did you see that one movie that was like about the Asian American experience growing up in our generation with YouTube? And it was shot in Warm Springs. Do
Oh,
you know what I'm
Didi?
talking about? Didi, yeah. Did you watch it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How'd you feel?
That movie is based on a lot of my experiences actually.
Yeah, no, for real. I'm like that. This is like our era generation, and not only that, but it's in our hometown. So it was like pretty. Like it was a trip to watch it. I thought it was pretty good. I
Yeah,
was recommending.
you remember the squirrel scene
Which one was that?
where he like puts a
Was
squirrel in
it
his
Dead Squirrel?
backpack? Yeah, dead squirrel, and then shows it to his friends, and then they
Yeah.
play with it. That was
Was that
me.
you?
That was me in
You're like,
eighth
I
grade.
literally did that. That was a documentary actually.
And then you remember Gagandeep Gupta when he was making the joke? I'm not really proud of this one, but
Uh,
there
what
was
was it?
when he was like making a joke about the Gagandeep Gupta, like basically or the character posted a video to YouTube of Sahej, the character Sahej, pissing in the river. And then the parents got angry and told me or the character to take it down. And then instead of taking it down, he just changed the name to Gagandeep Gupta. That was me.
Fuck. That's
Not
crazy.
proud of that. Not proud of that either.
Damn.
That was,
Yeah,
I
that's
was a
pretty crazy.
menace. I was a menace back then.
We like it. Yeah, I thought it was such a fun movie. I was like, dang, this is such a trip. So, what were your life aspirations growing up? Like during childhood, high school, and maybe college? Like young way. What were you aiming to do, or what type of person did you want to become? I don't know if that makes sense, that question.
Yeah, young way, like you mean junior high all the way up till senior year of high school, or just
Yeah. So, a pre-adult way. What were you
Mhm.
trying to do? What were your aspirations?
I think when I was really young, like elementary school, I wanted to be an artist. I was really into drawing, and I said I want to be an artist. And then when I discovered dancing in junior high, I decided I want to be a dancer. Or maybe I didn't say dancer specifically, but I was definitely really obsessed with dancing. And I think that's all I really thought about until I graduated high school.
I remember back when you were first year, you were talking about how you really like dancing, but you also really enjoyed theater or something like that. Do you remember that?
I wasn't necessarily into theater in the sense of wanting to be a drama kid, but I think I was involved heavily in theater because I did stagecraft as an extracurricular after school. I went to summer drama camp, which was basically a summer camp for art for drama kids, but with other arts attached, like dance and arts and crafts and stuff, which is why I went.
Okay. So it was just like an outlet where you wanted to pursue this creative field.
Yeah.
So it seems like you wanted to pursue the arts and you kind of just, whatever piques your curiosity, you go towards that. My next question is, how has like your dance journey shaped you overall? And maybe some key turning points that affected who you are or how you see the world or life, etc.
I think the great thing is that dance has stuck with me through all these years, ever since I found it. As I evolved as a person, my dance also evolved. So in a way, like my dancing is like the way I danced at a certain period of time was like a snapshot of who I was, which is really cool. A lot of artists say that about their work, whether you're a painter or a photographer. And it's like that for dancing too. And it's a little embarrassing because I'll watch old dance videos and I'll cringe and I'll be like, I hope no one ever sees this. But it's also beautiful that it's cringe because that's like you cringing at just how you were as a person back then, right? It reflects all in the dancing. That's on the surface level how dance has, I guess, reflected my journey as a person. But there's also deeper ways that it has affected me too, which I can go into if you want me to, or I don't have to.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm curious, just your dance journey. That as well, but I think for the audience too, if you want to describe your, I want to say dance journey, but I also want to ask like dance influences, how your style has
Mhm.
evolved over time, freestyle background, going into choreography, etc. Because
Yeah,
I
why
think
don't I talk about that first?
yeah, go for
I
it.
think that would give a better overall picture first. So I got into, hmm, that's a really I think I got into freestyle first through finding out about like popping and crump on YouTube because in the late 2000s that was like super popular. It was like popping versus crump, right? So I was into popping and crump, and then I even got into like sea walking and like I found out about turf dancing, but I couldn't really learn because I didn't really have many sources. I got into and then you and Kenta helped teach me freestyle. I think I got into choreo too, because you guys were also had one foot in choreo. And I was like, why not? Let's do that too, right? And I took some choreo classes. And then I think I started trying freestyle and choreo at the same time. I had joined a freestyle crew, which I'm still in, Blockheads. We just changed our crew name to NBA. But I was doing that, and then I was also trying to do choreo, and I ended up joining AoV, which, funny story, my crew didn't like that at all. But I just
Really?
really wanted to do choreo, and AoV was like the big team in the Bay, right? And I was hungry. Like, I wanted to be on the best team in the Bay. So I did it, even though my crew didn't like it. And it wasn't the best experience, but I learned a lot. And yeah.
Why didn't your crew like it, and what did you learn from it?
Well, back then, especially with freestyle crews, crew loyalty was a huge thing. Like you weren't meant to be on like multiple
Multiple.
crews. Now I think it's different. A lot of people, even big name dancers, they'll have like 5 crews on their profile. And I'll be like, bro, like even that's too much for me. You know what I mean? And then also there was just a lot of animosity between freestyle and choreo. Like I remember back then, there was just like this huge debate where like freestyles would hate on choreo heads and they would call them derogatory names. And then choreo heads would like, I don't know, maybe try to taunt back like, oh, you guys can't do choreo or something like that. But there was definitely a lot of animosity compared to now. So it was hard trying to be someone who was interested in both.
You're just like, man, I'm interested. Why can't I just like things? Why does it have to be so segregated? What did you
Yeah.
learn in that experience of being on AOV? Because I know it's a tough, like I was on it for a little bit. You were on it for a little bit. My sister was on it for several years. What, and going into like a high level choreo team, what was your experience like and what did you learn from it?
Oh, well, I learned that I'm capable of a lot more than I thought. I think before then I was just this happy-go-lucky kid that just wanted to dance and have fun. And then when I walked into AOV, everyone was like, mad dog face, do 10 push-ups if you fucking sneeze, right?
You breathe wrong.
Yeah. And then it was crazy because walking into that was a huge shock to me. I was like 16 or 17. And I probably struggled with wondering if I was fit to be in part of that environment. But actually, I pushed through for 6 months total, and I pushed through to the point where I was able to enter a competition with them. But yeah, I think one, it taught me grit, which I didn't know much about because I grew up in a very non-grit environment, no shame. It taught me grit, but it also taught me my boundaries of what I want in terms of my work ethic as it relates to dance. Because there's a reason I left. I think when I left, it was when I decided, actually, this isn't for me. It's really, the work ethic was great. I feel like I advanced as a person. I pushed my limits, but I also realized like, yeah, maybe this is not my way of how I want to excel.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then how did your transition into Kaba Modern play out? And I want to get into being a director, but yeah, what was the journey like?
So the funny thing is, I think after AOV, I took a break from choreo, or I still did choreo with Hip Hop Club, but I think I kind of went back to freestyle only. And I was like, because I think I was starting to like really come into my own as a freestyler and find my identity. And I was entering a lot of battles. I just turned 18. I feel like I had that young fiery energy, right? I wanted to enter battles. I wanted to battle everyone. I wanted to win. So I entered like freestyle mode, like when I moved down to SoCal. And I was doing that and I think I was even kind of like starting to hate on choreo. I was like, oh yeah, I don't know. I would walk around with my head high, kind of like with my nose down at choreo heads. And it wasn't like a serious thing, right? Like I wouldn't go like actually talk shit, but I would kind of just have this air about me that I'm like cooler or whatever. But the funny thing is, I moved into a house with some people from UCI because even though I went to Cal State Fullerton, I was constantly driving down to UCI to go to the B-Boys Anonymous sessions. So I was like, why don't I just fucking move to Irvine and commute to Fullerton? So I did that, moved in with Branley and Francis, who are also KM alumni. And I moved in with them because they were my BBA buddies, but they were also on Kaba Modern. So I think we were just like hanging out at one point and they just brought up as a joke, oh, you should just, it was like nearing Kaba Modern auditions. And then they were like, oh, you should just enter Kaba Modern auditions for fun. And I think at that point in time, that was like spring 2014. I was in a space mentally where I think my airheadedness about freestyling had kind of faded and I was more in a DGAF mentality. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? I'll do choreo, right? So I did the auditions and then I made it. I was on the choreo team again. Obviously, it wasn't like all rainbows and ponies like right when I joined. Once I got on, I was known as the really stubborn freestyle guy, but eventually I opened up to choreo again.
What do you mean by like stubborn freestyle guy?
Like, I was that one newbie that was super rebellious. I just didn't want to follow any of the traditions. I didn't take everything 100% seriously. I kind of felt like this cool guy, like I was better than everyone because of my freestyle background. And so I wasn't my cup wasn't empty. My cup was still like 90% full when I walked into Kaba Modern. And it took a while for it to go down to 0.
So then how did that change over time? Was it just you started to be more open-minded, your walls breaking down, or what was that like?
I think it was probably the KM collective classes. So basically, you remember back then, I don't know if it was during your era, but we had weekly KM collective classes at Focus Dance Studio and every team member had to take it. And I fucking hated it because it was always a new teacher with a new style that didn't work with my body. Because even though I was on AoV and I had that 6 months of like super hard experience, and I probably did improve my choreo skills at that time, like I wasn't really being exposed to other styles of choreography as regularly as on Kaba Modern. And I was on Kaba for 4 years, right? So 4 years or even 1 year of consistent KM collective classes of me being like, I have to take this class. And then eventually just being like, because you do groups, right, at the end of class. And then you have people encourage you. And then I'm always going into groups like, man, I don't want to do this shit. But then maybe there's one class where people are like, hey, you killed that shit. And then I'll be like, oh, I did? Oh, maybe I can do that. And then finding my kind of a way to have fun with it. And I guess it really opened my body up because before that I was super rigid. Like I only wanted to do clean angles, popping, cool guy looking stuff, right? But I think it opened up my body to different ways of expressing itself.
Okay. So it was exposing you to more styles and movements, and it maybe humbled you a little bit, and then you were kind of more into it at that point. What was your journey like to being a director on Modern? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I think end of my newbie year, I got paired up with Mike Song because they were doing this mentor thing. And they wanted to pair me with Mike Song because I was the token popper in my class. And then Mike Song was the ISO guy. And we collabed on a piece for Vibe. And I got a piece in for Vibe, which is like the big end of the season set. That was super cool. And I think for me, it was my first time stepping into a leadership role as a choreographer. And also it was the team's first time as well as the alumni watching over their first time, seeing me kind of take on this leadership role as well as like artist influencer role, like basically adding my artistry to the face of Kaba Modern. And I think people started seeing like, hey, we like this guy. We want to see more from you. Do you want to do this? So that led to my returner year, my second year. They wanted me to apply for board, and I think I did assistant artistic director that year. And so I had more of a hand in like selecting pieces, choreographing pieces. And from then it was just building up and up, right? The second year was the first year I felt like, oh, I have a responsibility to choreograph for the team, to be like someone to, and I was just like, yeah, fuck it. I'm all in on choreo now. You know what I mean? Not like completely in, but I definitely stepped a little bit away from freestyle to focus on choreo. And then it just kind of kept going up from there. So from second year, arts assistant artistic director. And then my third year, I was the executive director, because I think they had seen from my work in the second year that they were like, hey, yeah, this is cool. We want you to be executive director because we like your choreography, and we want you to kind of lead Kaba Modern into this new era of artistry. Although now looking back at it, I feel like artistic director would have been better, because my executive directing capabilities were terrible. Like it was not good.
What
And
what executive director responsibilities are you referring to?
just like being the leader of the team as a symbol of,
Oh, like the head of the team, sort of,
yeah.
like the CEO.
And then also handling logistics, delegating, working with other people. I did not. Well, the funny thing is, I was on ASB for years in high school, and I was great at that. So I do have the experience, but also at the time, I was heavily struggling with drug addiction, and that extremely dampened my ability to lead.
I see. I was gonna ask, so what was your directorship like? I know you just mentioned that maybe the non-artistic parts of it might have been a challenge, but was there anything else? And then the next question of that is, what did you learn from that experience?
I think first challenge was just pressure, right? I was feeling a lot of pressure from current modern, but actually mostly alumni, and which I don't put anything against him. This is not like it was more like pressure I put on myself because he saw so much in me and some of the older alumni. And I felt like this whole kind of weight of I have to carry the torch of Kaba Modern, which felt fucking awesome because I fucking grew up watching them on TV, right? But at the same time, it was like, holy shit, like I feel this responsibility to carry this whole team's image with my artistry. That was the hardest thing for sure. I think other challenges was just like managing my mental health, which kind of relates to that. But my mental health was terrible at the time. I didn't know how to manage my mental health, not even remotely. And I was dealing with it in really toxic ways. And then also, this might not be directly related, but my chronic back pain, because that was always in the background, even ever since I was young, but it had reached a very high peak at the same time that I was leading modern. So I was dealing with chronic back pain, like just extreme, constant pain in my low back, which also led to tightness all in my neck and shoulders and hips. And it was just like, yeah, felt like me being attacked from all angles.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that because I also have low back pain and neck pain, so I'm going to dig into that. What about lessons learned? Anything? I know you said there's a lot of pressure, but what did you learn from that experience of leading Kaba Modern on your shoulders?
Number one, I don't want to be a leader.
Good. Learn self-awareness.
Yeah, well, not in that sense. I don't want to lead a team. But I think, almost 10 years later now, I'm starting to like see leadership qualities arise within me again, but I'm choosing how I utilize them on my own terms. I'm not going to manage a team, but I might be a symbol of inspiration for people, or I might help out one friend here and there if I have the energy. But yeah, I definitely realized that I don't want to lead. So that's the first lesson. Two is I just saw like the worst side of myself. Like I hit rock bottom when I was on Kaba Modern. And I hate to say that because I don't want to taint the name of the team. This is purely just like how I reacted to a high stress situation. But I saw the worst side of myself. I was just like totally not taking care of myself, acting in really irresponsible and toxic ways. And I think it taught me what kind of person I want to be going forward because I saw, hey, this is how I fold under pressure, right? And I wanted to change like, how I respond to that.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's that high pressure environment reveals who we are, and then afterwards we can see the mistakes we made and how we can improve from that. So I appreciate that. You're like, I know where I messed up, and also revealed a lot to yourself. I want to switch over to health and all these other topics. Why did you move down to SoCal anyways? I'm curious.
I moved down for dance. So I remember during college apps, everyone was like picking their dream college. I didn't even know what college I wanted to go to. I just knew I wanted to go to SoCal because I wanted to meet all my heroes in dance. And so I just picked a random, or not a random, but like I did go to tour a couple colleges. I toured CSU LA and CSU Fullerton. And I picked Fullerton. I forgot why, but I'm glad I did because I met all the cool dancers in the OC area. And that's where I kind of planted my feet.
It's funny because that's also why I moved to SoCal, was just to dance and be a part of the community. And then obviously Kaba Modern in high school was big. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go down there and join. So I think we have similar reasons. So let's move over to shift gears to health. So you mentioned this in the forms. You mentioned 4 years of sobriety. If you don't mind, could you walk us through that journey and maybe some big things you learned along the way to get where you are, or things that helped?
Yeah. So I just recently celebrated 4 years of sobriety.
Congrats.
Thank you. But my sobriety journey is actually longer than 4 years. I would say my sobriety journey started in 2018, and I was just kind of working towards full sobriety. Actually, I can't say full sobriety or else I'd be a phony. Technically, right now I'm Cali sober, which means everything but weed and shrooms. But as a caveat, I don't even do weed and shrooms because I have fear of panic attacks now. And I can't really do those substances without fear of panic attack. So if I do it, it's like once in a blue moon. But yeah, the reason I went sober 4 years ago was because I had a near-death scare that was associated with drugs and alcohol, where I got a panic attack while driving in the car. This was actually the day after I had taken substances. So I did wait. It was like after this party, I drank some water, drank a lot of water actually to try to flush out of my system. And I had thought I was good to go home the day after. But once I hopped in my car, I got onto the bridge, I just started seized up and I got this crazy panic attack and it felt like I was going to die. I literally got scared straight because, yeah, that was probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had in my life. So in a way, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because now it's easy for me to be sober. A lot of people say sobriety is hard, and I understand why, because pre-2021, which is when I went like mostly full sober, I did struggle with sobriety because it's hard to deal with the temptations. You know, when you go to a party, someone pulls a substance out. But after 2021, it was easy because if someone ever offered me a substance, I would just think about that panic attack and I'd be like, nah, I'm good. So the cool thing about that is I can go out and party now without having to worry because I can look at people do substances and it doesn't faze me. Whereas other people struggle with that and I feel for them. I was kind of like that before 2021.
Okay. I'm curious, and if you don't want to go into it, we don't have to, but I'm curious what led down this path until you hit that panic attack. Was it just trying things out recreationally and then it kind of just spiraled into, let's say, a harder addiction and then you had that panic attack and then you wanted to get sober off of that? Or was there something else? Or was it just a way to cope with something or any number of reasons?
Yeah, I think it started right after high school because in high school and before, I was like the goody two shoes mascot of the school, hated people that did drugs. But yeah, something switched in me right after high school. I don't know why or how, but basically after high school, I became super depressed and super cynical. Maybe it was because like I felt like the world was my oyster in high school. And after high school, I felt like it was all gone. And I started smoking cigarettes, I started smoking weed, and then you start trying other things. But it's not as simple as that. I think my relationship with drugs was a little more complex. For example, a lot of people try Adderall, and a lot of people choose Adderall as like the college drug because it's a great study drug. It's also recreational. I participated in that as well, but I got particularly addicted to it because it alleviated my back pain more than just taking like ibuprofen because I couldn't get a good prescription for back pain, or maybe I just didn't want to figure out how to. And I just had access to Adderall, and it was the only time my whole body felt good because it was not just back pain, but it was like my tightness. Whenever I took Adderall, my back pain and my tightness would go away, and I would feel like a regular person. And so I developed a really toxic relationship with it because I started taking it like once a week or maybe even twice a week. And this was like for basically 4 years straight. And I would take like a really high dose too. And so, yeah, it was like recreational, but it was also like this dependence on it due to my back pain. And it was like to escape my pain and probably also to escape like mental pain, right? Like things I didn't want to deal with. And then graduate or trying other drugs like ecstasy, cocaine, and then kind of just like going up and up until you crash. But for me, it wasn't like that to 2021, right? It was more like 2013 up to like 2017 when it was like at its worst and I was like a fucking wreck. And then I kind of like crashed and burned and I just hit like a new low, and then I realized the error of my ways, and then I started going, okay, I'm a chill, right? So that's 2018. So that's why I said my sobriety journey started in 2018, because I had an episode that was like, I think a lot of addicts will know, like you get these like moments of clarity, these very rare moments of clarity. And I had one in 2018 after an episode where I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I need to stop this shit. And then so 2018, I didn't go completely sober, but like something changed in my brain where I was like, nah, I need to change my ways. So I started living more intentionally, or at least being more mindful of how I carry myself. And I started doing way less drugs and partying way less. So 2018, I was going like down, and then maybe I would like party here and there. I don't know, rave, festival, friends party, right? But by the time 2021 hit, I was already like 90% sober. And so when I had that panic attack that scared me straight, it was super easy. It was super easy to go sober because it was like taking the next step, right?
I wanted to ask, and I think you touched upon some of this where it was you had that panic attack and you were on this journey of getting to that sober point. But was there anything that comes to mind that helped with that? And I think in the spirit of, let's say other people might be having their own addictions and struggles with that and trying to get off of substances. Is there anything like any insights that you feel like could help with people on that journey?
Probably being at home, because I moved home in 2020. So when I decided to go sober, I was already living at home. I was already healing my relationship with my family. Not like it was terrible. Actually, it was probably terrible at some point when I was in the depths of my addiction. But by the time 2021 came, I was already like improving my relationship with my family, enjoying quality time with them, and then having them as a support system. So, and then also just living at home. It's kind of hard to get addicted to stuff when I'm living back at my childhood home. I don't want to show that side to my family. So there's that pressure of, oh, I don't want to embarrass myself. Whereas if I was living in SoCal still, it might have been easier for me to fall back into certain habits because I didn't have anyone watching me. Well, it's not like they were watching me, but like
Right.
anyone I was living with that would get upset with me, right?
Okay. So it's just that accountability of being around your family probably helps put you in a better, more safe environment or a better conducive environment to be sober.
Yeah, I think so. And I would hope that if I was living on my own, it would have been the same because I don't want to live here forever.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense and it's been very insightful. I want to ask about the back pain now. And I put this as asking for a friend, meaning myself, but you said it's been chronic for a long time. Do you know what caused it? And then the larger question is what helped you progress and heal from it?
That's the big question I can never answer. All the doctors ask me, my friends, and I ask it, and I don't know what the cause is. I think it happened so long ago that we can't like pinpoint the cause.
Was this like before high school?
Yeah, so my back pain started in elementary school. I remember as early as
Damn.
fifth grade, I would get these back spasms where I would like
Dang.
throw out my back randomly. If I moved wrong, I might throw out my back, get this super sharp pain, and then I couldn't move my back sometimes for up to 2 days. It's weird. But back then I didn't know what the fuck back pain was or like that I needed to go get an x-ray or ask a doctor. I just thought it was like, oh, my back hurts, right? So I didn't really get it addressed until all the way in college.
What was that process of getting it addressed? And then did anything help? What did they tell you?
I did go to the chiropractor in high school. I remember that because my mom was very crazy about the chiropractor. She had a family chiropractor. We could get free chiropractic appointments. So I joined in and I think they helped to a degree. But it wasn't until college that like my back pain started really kind of coming to the forefront. I remember multiple nights where I would just lie awake, agonizing because my back hurt extraordinarily more than I expected it to, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. I would try to stretch and it would just hurt like hell, and sometimes I would cry, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is a thing. I need to research this. Started researching stretches, back pain resources online, but I was still very unknowledgeable. Like I still didn't know shit about how to deal with injuries, how to prevent injuries, what the hell back pain is or whatever. But I did start, I think I saw my first physical therapist in 2015. And then I started my PT journey all the way from then until now. And I'm still going to physical therapy to this day.
Okay. So did you discover anything at that point when you started going to the PT about your back pain or what helps it?
I did get an MRI that showed that there was something not regular in my spinal discs. Like one of them was a lot flatter than normal. And just other stuff that was wrong with the alignment or whatever. But nothing that was like concrete, like, yeah, this is what's wrong with your back and this is how we're going to fix it. Because I realized that it's a lot more complex than that. It's not like when you break your shin bone and you get a cast. With chronic back pain, it's like a way longer and way more complex treatment plan.
Okay. Okay, so it's complex. Has anything helped? And was there anything else that you learned during that process?
Has anything helped? That is a good question.
I guess I'm coming from it as, so you started going to the PT, you're still going and maybe treatment's helping. Not sure if you've learned anything from your physical therapist and things that might help or things that have helped along the journey or that you learned about yourself.
I think the most important thing I learned was consistency. No matter what exercise you're doing, just be consistent with it, because I bounced between so many physical therapists because something wasn't working. And I realized maybe my error was just not sticking with a physical therapist long enough, because I would get frustrated, I would quit, and then I would just stop doing exercises completely. So I would lose all that progress. And then I would return to back pain.
So then those exercises, when you stuck to it, you found that it did help a little bit.
Yes, I think it was like way later, like maybe 2023, that I decided to like really stick with therapists. So I stuck with a therapist for like 1 year, I think, maybe a little over a year. And I saw the most progress with him. And then I switched to another therapist, which is my current physical therapist. And I've been with them for a year and a half now. And I've seen absolutely the most progress with this current physical therapist.
So what's that regimen like? What do they make you do? What have they addressed?
It's a really complicated, like it's these really strange exercises, but it's like basically exercises meant to re-educate your body to like align better. And it was really frustrating to learn them. It's not just do 10 push-ups and do 10 sit-ups and do 10 glute bridges. It's a super complex like exercise with a bunch of cues, but it eventually made sense and it kind of helped to like re-educate my body. And it's cool because after 10 whole years of being in physical therapy and maybe 20 whole years of being in pain, I finally reached a point that I feel somewhat like a regular human.
Okay. So your current PT and being consistent helped out, and they give you these exercises or things that help with your alignment, and that's been helping you out. I guess maybe as a personal aside, from like 1 to 10, how severe was your pain before, and then what is it like now? Just curious.
At my worst, it was definitely reaching levels of 10. Not in the sense like I couldn't walk, because there's different types of pain, right? My pain was like also psychological. So it was like physical, psychological. I could walk and move around and do stuff, but the pain was like constant. It was like all day from the point I woke up until I went to sleep, every single day for years. And combined together, that felt like a 10, even though my like physical pain was probably closer to an 8. But yeah, that's probably where it was at its worst, which is probably around 2017 through 2019. I think that's when my pain was at its worst. Now it's down to ranging between 0 and 3.
Wow. Dang, so it must have been like your PT must be really working then.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, man. Chronic pain is no joke, and I'm still trying to figure out mine, but I'm sure we'll get there.
I think I did want to just mention how back pain has influenced my journey as a dancer, because dancing, and maybe this will segue into the next conversation actually, because dancing was my ultimate passion. Like from the moment I discovered it up until I had to quit, I had this just like this burning desire in my heart and soul to pursue dancing. And I had this calling, and my chronic back pain directly just ended it. Like it was, and it destroyed me mentally. Like it was probably my greatest struggle, and I still struggle with it. But yeah, like unfortunately, I had to quit my dance career because of my back pain back in 2018. And I'm still in physical therapy, still trying to fix my back because I still have even a tiny sliver of hope that I can return to a dance career, even though I'm already 31 and I'm getting to that age where, where everything becomes crackly. But anyways, I had to kind of come to terms with that and eventually kind of try to reframe it as a blessing, which is really hard. I hate trying to reframe it as a blessing, but maybe it was meant to happen because I was meant to try other things. And after I ended my dance career in 2018, I decided to pursue music production, and I decided to get back into DJing, and I decided to try like creating funny music videos. And then I decided to learn guitar. And those are all things I still do now, that I could not live without. And I love almost just as much as dancing. So in a way, I'm thankful towards my back pain for showing me that, but I still fucking hate my back pain.
Of course.
You back pain. And it made me quit dancing.
I'm curious, so if you are at a 0 to 2, couldn't you just start dancing, or what level of dancing are you aspiring to do if you do get back into it?
So that's a really good question because yes, I can dance right now. And yes, I do dance right now. But do I dance professionally? No. Do I want to dance professionally right now? Definitely no. So the way my back pain relates to it is even if my back pain is at a 0, which is great, my dance ability might not be very great because my recovery situation is twofold. It's pain and mobility. Both of those are equally as important to my ability to return to dancing because even if my pain is 0, my mobility might be severely limited. And that's not just, oh, I can't touch my toes. It's also how tight my muscles feel. So I suffer from this condition. I don't know what it's called, but it feels like my muscles are choking me.
Oh, damn.
It's a terrible feeling. It feels like someone took injected hot glue into your muscles in my neck and my hips and my back. And so even if my pain is at 0, I might feel like just really constricted. And that not only makes it really uncomfortable to dance, but it also makes me unable to express myself. So I'm working on that at the same time as I'm working on reducing my pain. Thankfully, I've reduced most of the pain, which makes working on the other stuff easier because nothing is easy to do when you're in pain. But yeah, so returning to dance might still be a long journey, even though my pain is a lot lower now.
So getting that mobility, what kind of dancing do you aspire to do? So you want to do it professionally, and what does that look like?
I want to do illusion-based styles. I still am in love with popping, which was my first style, but I branched out to learning other styles, which are loosely related to popping, which is turf dancing from Oakland, Memphis Jukin, flex dance from New York, and just those. Mostly just those. I do like other styles here and there, like shuffling. I really like shuffling. And yeah, but those are mostly the styles I want to do, which thankfully doesn't require as much athleticism or mobility as, say, like breakdancing, but it still does require like a base level of mobility, which I'm trying to get to.
So what does that look like dancing at that level? So I don't know, what do you aspire to do with that? I don't know if my question makes sense. Be music videos or be a professional choreographer or do show? What does that look like?
I don't have a solid vision, but I do
You just
have
want to dance mostly.
yeah, I have ideas though. And right now I think it's kind of informed by my current creative pursuits. So one thing I've really enjoyed doing from time to time is being a creative director for my own music videos. So I might pick a song that is really inspiring me at the moment. And then I'll make a music video starring myself in front of this green screen. And then I'll be super creative with it. And I realize, oh, I really like dancing, but I also like dancing in my own world, right? I don't want to dance as a backup dancer for an artist, or I don't want to dance in a commercial, but I want to dance in my own world that I dream of. But it also sounds really far-fetched, right? It sounds like, yeah, I only want to do things I don't want to go the traditional route of auditioning and whatever. That's kind of a vision I have for myself as a dancer. I've also thought about returning to the battle scene and really trying to make a name for myself in the scene and earning my respect. That's pretty much about it.
I want to go into your other pursuits. So DJing, you mentioned music production, video editing, graphic design, etc. How did you get into these fields? What do you get from it? And maybe advice for others who want to do what you do?
How did I get into these fields? I think in 2018, after I quit dancing, I also simultaneously experienced this surge of creative inspiration. I don't know what was the cause, but I was really inspired to get into music production. And I think I was like, well, if I'm getting to music production, I might as well try to learn an instrument. So I picked up a guitar. That's two things. And then I started rebranding myself. That was when I changed my name, my artist name, to just Shui. Because before that, it was Funk Shui, which I thought was cool for a time, but eventually it became cringy to me. And I thought it would be cool to change it down to just Shui. and which shui means water in Chinese. And I was really obsessed with the color blue, as you can see in my room. And so I started like dreaming up of, oh, I want to brand myself this way. I want to add blue to my profile. And then I started taking Skillshare courses in music production and in Photoshop and Illustrator. And then I was just like kind of playing with all these different toys. And I wasn't really doing it on a schedule, like on a strict schedule. I was really just doing it based off of inspiration. So like certain things dropped off at certain points. Like I was really interested in music production for 4 months, and then I just dropped it completely. And then I got like super into DJing the next year. And then after that, I got really into making music videos on After Effects. So
nice. So just getting into a lot of different things because you were curious about it and you had all this creative inspiration. I want to ask, are there some things that you learned along the way that helped you pursue those things and or advice you can give to other people?
That's a good question. I think after I quit dancing, I had just lost my identity, right? Because dancing was my entire identity. But I had all this leftover creative energy that couldn't go anywhere. And I was really frustrated because now it had no outlet. I wasn't really thinking, all right, I'm going to become this multifaceted creator. I think I was just more really struggling to find an outlet for my creative energy. And I was also struggling to find which outlet, right? I was like, okay, I know I love music because I love dancing, so I should do something music related. And so I guess that's how it led to, I'm going to try music production because if I can't dance to music, maybe I'll make music. And then I got tired of music production. So I was like, okay, if I can't make music, why don't I mix music? Tired of mixing music? Let's make a music video. Tired of making music videos? Why don't I make a graphic artwork for a mix I want to put out? I think my love for music was the driving force all the way. So now I'm a multifaceted creator, and I want to give a disclaimer that I'm not anywhere near a master at any of these things. Like
Right.
I'm truly more close to a hobbyist than an actual disciplined, multifaceted creator. But it's just a bonus that now I have these new skills.
Do you feel like you would do any combination of those creative things professionally or at a higher level in the future? Or do you feel like where you're at right now is kind of your zone? You want to just do that and maybe the whole life career aspirations will be something else?
I feel like I'm in a really good spot right now because I have a great work-life balance. I have enough to support myself. I don't have to spend too much time on my day job. I have enough time outside of my day job to work on my pursuits. But I do want to work towards something in the future where my main career can involve my creative pursuits, ideally in a way that won't drain my love for them, which is really hard. I'm kind of just going with the flow and seeing what clicks.
Nice. I like it. You're just like, okay, let's just see where it goes, but I enjoy the journey while I'm getting there, right?
Yeah, like for example, right now for me, it's DJing. Like I'm just getting a lot of awesome DJ opportunities. So I'm just kind of riding that wave. And maybe next year it'll be dancing. Who knows? I'm lucky that I have the choice, right? That I'm not in a financial situation where I feel cornered and I have to lock in on something. I have the freedom to try the things I want to try.
I like that a lot. I think people shouldn't discount the ability to have time freedom or at least more flexibility in their time to try those things. I always come across people who are very set or hard charging on their career and they don't give time to their creative pursuits and they don't have this work-life balance or they just neglect that side of themselves, but then they get burnt out easily. I wouldn't discount trying to do those things that give you energy, that give you joy, even while you're working on career, and then maybe that could turn into something. Or maybe you want to keep it as a hobby. I'm a big proponent of that too. Like you said, it could choke the joy out of your artistic pursuits if you try to make it into a career. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works out, but I think that's still a good approach for some people, right? I want to move on to rapid fire questions.
Let's go rapid fire.
All right. First question, billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, metaphorical and non-commercial, what would it say?
Free Palestine. Sorry, I don't want to get political on here.
I don't even know.
The first thing that popped in my head.
If it's genuine, then it's all good.
Yep.
And I don't even think that's political. That's just what? That's
just
morality,
human.
humanity?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, anyways, what
But
is
it
one
would
of the
have
hardest
night face on it.
outside from Way?
That way it
I
would
like
be
it.
like, it would be unique to me.
Next question. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life and what did you learn from it? Maybe we touched upon it, but
Yeah, I touched upon it already, but it would be a tie between the back pain or the drug addiction. And what I learned from it is, I think one thing I didn't mention is that I learned how to be humble from my back pain. My back pain humbled the fuck out of me. And it taught me how to be patient and how to deal with things when you're expecting like to be dealt a certain hand of cards. So that was a very hard lesson, but it was a worthy lesson because I think it really develops my character.
self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life and it's your own fault and you can't blame anyone else?
Self-inflicted wounds are definitely just any of my recreational drug escapades. Here's one. I went to Life is Beautiful with some friends, and me being irresponsible, I mixed a bunch of drugs thinking I was invincible. And it was funny because I remember I was looking down my nose at other ravers because they were like making their ecstasy faces, and I thought I was better than them, but I was worse because that night I had a like, it was similar to the panic attack I had in 2021, but it was different. But I felt like I was dying, and it was like fucking terrifying. And the thing that sucks is like my friends were just telling me to get over it because I had cried wolf way too many times, right? So they didn't know whether I was like really in trouble or if I was just like having another scare.
If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now?
I would tell my younger self to fucking stretch. Not just stretch, but if I had to just put it in one word, but I would tell him to stretch and take care of his body. Because even if I had been struggling with a condition that was irreversible at the time, at least if I had started taking care of my body and doing preventative work, then I would have saved myself so much fucking suffering. And so if I ever have kids, I'm going to be so like strict about like body care. Like, we're going to stretch every morning. We're not going to do crazy heavy lifts, but I'm definitely going to be a health conscious parent if I do become a parent.
How do you define success?
Happiness. When you're on your deathbed, are you going to look back on your life with a smile or with regrets? And that's what success is to me, because that's like the cliche thing, right? In movies and also in real life, so many old people, they're either like, yeah, I lived a good life, or they're like, I wish I did this, right?
So would you say it's like minimizing regrets?
Yeah, I guess like in a practical like way of saying like how exactly to achieve that. That's probably why I'm pursuing my life the way I'm doing it now, because of that mantra.
That's always a good exercise for people to do, especially if you're feeling lost or not really sure where to go. You do that visualization of, okay, you're on your deathbed or you're looking at your own grave. What do you wish you would have done or tried? And that's usually a good compass to try those things. Not reckless things, obviously, but things that you know that you'll be happy you did by the end. What's something you've been pondering recently or something you think about often deeply?
Just the state of the world and how complex everything is, and consumerism and capitalism and the rise of fascism and how it all ties together and how it's all kind of like too much to comprehend because the information era is like just bombarding us constantly. And it's kind of overwhelming.
Follow up to that, if you could get rid of one of the big problems, what would that be?
A really specific one would be like reversing Citizens United to get money out of politics. But an overarching one would be to remove capitalism and install socialism as a societal reform.
Could you give an overview for our audience? Citizens United, how does that affect us?
So basically, it was a ruling that allowed money in politics, but in a really indirect way. But that's when individual voters like us lost almost all of our power, and then corporations started to have way more influence in U.S. politics.
Do you have a favorite hot take or something you think most people wouldn't agree with?
This is not necessarily something that I fully believe, but it's a thought that keeps recurring in my mind because it's interesting. But it's basically, we're all me. It's like a way of, I guess, like deleting your ego through logic, which is thinking that everyone calls themselves me. So if we're all me, then we're all the same person. That should be able to kill all ego in the world and kill all disagreements. But I say that with a caveat because there's still people I hate. And I don't care. I'm like, I'm gonna be my ego and hate that person because
Nice. I
I'm a
like
fucking
it.
human. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last question, rapid fire question. Any favorite books, movies, videos, articles, media, or anything like that that you share or recommend the most?
Severance, the TV show, I really liked it. It was a really mind-bending show that was really thought-provoking. Also made me realize I probably need to get myself into some books because my brain might be rotting.
What kind of books do you want to get into?
Well, I have a ton of books on politics and history of geopolitics just sitting collecting dust that I was supposed to read, but I just couldn't build up the habit of reading. So that's what I was interested in. And then I had a huge history kick before that too.
I usually scratch that itch by just watching YouTube videos about history or politics and stuff like that. So it's almost as good as reading actual books.
Well, someone I really like though is Alan Watts. Discovered him in like early 2010s. Recently been kind of getting back into him, but he's like a Western philosopher that's really into Eastern philosophy, and the way he articulates his kind of a combination of all those philosophies is like really interesting, really entertaining. He's an author, but I think he's
Okay.
more of a speaker than an author. Like he has hours and hours of speeches that you can find on YouTube, but he also has books that you can read.
All right. Wait, we have come to the end. Congratulations, you made it. Ending questions. Gratitude. Shout out to my mom. Way, what are you grateful for?
My mom too. Yeah, fuck it. Shout out to my
There you
mom.
go.
My number one supporter. I'm also thankful for my healthy body, despite my back pain and complications I still experience. I also am realizing like there's a lot of things that can be thankful for, that I rarely get sick. I still look like I'm in my early 20s. I still have lots of energy if I get enough sleep. So I'm thankful for my health, thankful for all my friends too, people surround me that have inspired me, helped me get here, and provide a dope environment for me to thrive in. And I'm thankful for having my basic needs met. It sounds kind of cliche to say, but I have to give thanks for that because a lot of people are struggling in this world, and I think we can't take what we have for granted. You know what I mean? So every day I try to say thank you for the clothes on my back. Thank you for the food on my table. Thank you for the roof over my head. And that really helps put things into perspective.
I love it. All right. Do you have a final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you'd like them to have from this conversation?
I would say I hope you have a good life because I don't know who you are, but if you're listening to this, thanks for listening. I really appreciate you giving your time to both me and JR. And I might never meet you, but I hope you have a fucking good life.
Way, where can people find you if they want to check out what you're up to, what you're doing, and or connect if you're open to that?
Shui on Instagram, sh.way. I'm really trying to get just shway, but someone's fucking holding on to that account with
Damn.
only 20 followers and no posts. But yeah,
Damn.
it's sh.way. If you want to find me on TikTok, it's not my main, but I still post cool stuff there. That is Shui Boy Advance. It's like Game Boy Advance, but instead it's Shui Boy Advance. I thought it was
Clever.
cool. SoundCloud is kind of under construction, but that's also Shui. I just forgot what the URL is, but I think if you just search Shui, you'll find me.
Perfect. I will link all of that in the show notes description. Thank you again, Wei, so much for sharing your insights, your experiences, your time. I appreciate the vulnerability and also just everything that you've been sharing. You're a very humble and kind soul, so I really appreciate you for that.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Cool. All right. I'll do my final sign off. Thank you guys for being here. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave Way love in the comments below. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And remember that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thank you for being here.